welcome to the Shepherds and Kings podcast. My name is Jacob Trelaw, and I am the host and the founder of this podcast. If this is your first time listening, thanks for stopping by. Our goal here is to long-term help men find balance in their Christian life, which ultimately just means putting your priorities in the right places with the help of the Spirit. And short-term is giving you something today that will challenge you to take some action today. And of course, if you've tuned in before, thanks for coming back again. Just want to say a quick thank you to those of you who have, whether through social media, hit like or subscribe, or on a podcast provider, podcast player, or those of you who have reached out to me specifically just to show some support or encouragement. I appreciate that. And again, just keep on doing that. Make sure you also take some time to share this with some other guys, pass this along to someone else. And if you have any thoughts on feedback on the show itself, or some guests who you think you'd like to hear or it would be beneficial for other men to hear, please pass that along. And as always, a shout out to our partner, Clean 5110. If you have not had the chance yet to go check them out, please find them online, clean5110.com. They have fitness and lifestyle apparel. But what it really is a way for you to promote and represent living a clean Christian lifestyle. So please go check them out. Our guest today is Todd Monaghan. He is an evangelist, travels and speaks at all kinds of meetings, camps, but also runs his own gym in Iowa. And it's a unique story, and it's really a incredible way that God took him from where he was to where he is now. And so we get a chance to talk about his story, where he came from, some things he's learned along the way. We talk a little bit about fighting, what it means to be a man, and some of the things that he's seen God do through his life. So without further ado, let's get to our guest. Our guest today is Todd Monaghan. He is an evangelist and a gym owner, as well as a husband and a father of four. But he has a unique story as how he got into evangelism in general and fighting, and his really just the place that he is right now is incredibly unique. And so he's agreed to come on and share some time with us. Todd, it's good to have you with us.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
So can you give us a little bit about your story, just like where you came from, how you got into church, and then how you got into fighting?
Well, I was born in McKinney, Texas in '83. My mother was 12 years old when she had my sister, almost died because she was 12 years old having a baby.
Wow.
And then 14 years old when she had me. She lost custody of me and my sister. She regained the custody, but on the 10th day that she regained custody, she left us in the house. She was out doing drugs.
Wow.
I got into a bottle of pills, started to overdose. My sister's grandmother taught her how to dial 911 at the age of 4.5. She saw something was wrong. She dialed 911. They came. They pumped my stomach, put me in a separate foster home.
Wow. And your mom at most of this point was single mom, raising you by mostly herself, or?
Yeah, single. There was a bunch of people in the house, but she was single mom. And then I used to be kind of upset, like, well, how could this happen? But my sister said, can't be upset at a kid.
Sure.
She was just a kid.
Yeah.
So I get put in a foster home. She gets put in a foster home. We had first a family was going to adopt me to try to save their marriage. I wouldn't have been the key to save their marriage, I'm quite sure. Yeah. But my foster parents, they were going to keep me, but all their other kids were too old. And they were well off, super good people. However, I got adopted by a white family in Clinton, Iowa. My sister got adopted by a family in Texas. This family that adopted my sister was going to adopt me, but they said since I was so adorable and cute and young that I was going to get adopted for sure. And since she was older, she might be lost into the system, so they adopted her. And when I was about 16, I met her for the first time. But growing up for me was fairly normal. My parents lived... my dad worked for the railroad, made a good amount of money on the railroad, like $88,000 a year. So as a young man, I think that's $1 billion,
Yeah,
my mom had a job. Fast forward to middle school, I remember having these 2 pair of windbreakers. And before I go into this, I'd like to say my parents that adopted me, today. We have a great relationship. They're not the people that adopted me. They're just my parents. My dad, we get along well. I think he gets along way better with my kids than he did with me. Just is what it is. I was a difficult one to deal with. And then he came from that old school generation where I don't think mom and dad were lovey-dovey, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I love my parents. They're wonderful people. I don't remember growing up one time seeing my dad argue with my mom, unsaved.
Really?
Never. To this day, I've never seen them get in an argument. And of course, they argued, but in my opinion, that's the appropriate way to do it.
And you think that was on purpose? They were trying to set an example for you?
I don't know what it was, but I mean, they were always very morally sound people, even though not saved. I was able to lead my mom to the Lord not that long ago, a couple years ago, but we weren't able to watch BET or bad TV shows, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
So middle school, I have these pair of windbreakers, 2 pairs, same color. Kids picking on me because I got the same pair of pants, and that's why I tell people you got to be mindful of the things that you say. Just don't know the path that's going to send people down. The path that sent me down was this. So I have these windbreakers. The kids picking on me. I tell my parents, I'm not going back to school unless you guys give me some pants. My dad, I asked my dad to play catch with me once. I remember as a young man, and he said no. I go to the back. I'm playing the catch with myself, and I hear people in the front. I go, and it's my mom or my dad and my sister playing catch. Funny the things that you remember.
Yeah.
And then I asked for a trampoline. Maybe a month or weeks later, and they said no. I waited 1 week, had my sister ask for a trampoline. We had a trampoline in the yard the next day. So, that'll make a guy bitter.
Yeah.
And then, so with the pants, I was complaining, and my sisters would always get these, it was mud bubble skirts was the thing, and they had them, all of them, and I couldn't get a pair of pants, and I said, I'm not going unless you get me a pair of pants. They got me these black Wranglers, so I'm like, oh, now I got the generic jeans, and they're going to fade, and I should have just been happy to have anything, but, kids are mean. That's where I was at in my life.
Pressure,
and my buddy was like, well, here's an ounce of marijuana. You can sell this, and then you won't have to worry about, you can buy your own pants. But I was a savvy little guy. I think maybe if they would have said get a work permit, get a job, I probably would have did that route and been a hard worker, but
that's what presented itself.
Sure, and I kept the ounce. I sold the ounce, kept the money, sold the ounce, kept the money, sold the ounce, kept the money. Then I bought my own ounce, and then I bought my jeans, but I still had money to buy another ounce, to 2 ounces, to 3 ounces, to quarter pounds, 4 ounces, and then over that summer of 8th grade to 9th grade, up to quarter pounds, and then it was just half pounds, and it was just half pounds, a pound here and there, and partying and hotel rooms and doing whatever because, I had $500 a week for a 9th grader. It's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Then off to college, we're kicking indoors and robbing people, doing whatever we want to do. My buddy left early, came back home, started selling cocaine, and he was making $1,000 a week in selling the cocaine, and I was making $1,000 every 3 weeks peddling the marijuana. So I called one of my friends from Texas. In Iowa, you could sell an ounce of cocaine for like $1,200 at the time. And if you get them in Texas, you get them for like $400 a piece. So then you could cut them in half, add a substance to them, and maybe it's 28 grams in an ounce. You could add 14 grams, or you could add 10 grams, and then it's $80 a gram. So 80 times 14,
Sure.
that's extra.
Yeah.
Or you sell the half for $500.
Right.
And if we got ecstasy, if we bought 500 pills, we'd get them for $3 a piece, and we were selling them for $25, no matter how many you got, because it was either drive to Chicago and mess with them jokers, and then the traffic and the police, or drive to Davenport, and they just weren't as good as the ones that we had. And so paying $3 a pill, selling for $25 a piece, times 500, plus the marijuana, plus the cocaine, we're getting all types of money. Anyways, I remember walking across the street to this Urban Outfitter. The man was a drug-dealing, drug-using alcoholic. And I asked him if he had a pair of Air Force Ones for me, and he said, no, I don't have those shoes. But what I do have is a question. Do you know for sure if you'd go to heaven or not if you were to die? And he was just at the jail revival that I preached. By the way, we saw 208 men saved at that jail revival. It was amazing. He was just there, and he said,
this guy, sorry, he's in Clinton now. You're still...
No, he's in Indiana.
He's in Indiana. Okay, so
he's in the process of moving to Tennessee, where I just preached at, moving back to Tennessee.
Okay.
But he was in Clinton at the time.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, there's the time frame. So I'm in Clinton. He has an urban outfitting shop and a call center right across the street from me. I walk over there asking for the shoes. He says, no, but I got a question. Do you know for sure if you're going to heaven or not? And I said, yeah, I'm going to heaven because I'm Catholic. He said, according to the Bible, that answer was not going to get you to heaven. He had the Bible all tabbed out with the scripture verses. And he handed me the Bible, and he said, this is something you got to do for yourself. I don't recommend that. If you would have led me to the Lord there, I would have got saved. So anyways, I walk across the street, take the Bible to my bathroom. For some reason, I'm looking at the mirror and the Bible myself, and I just trusted Christ as my Savior. But I was still selling drugs and stuff. Like a week later, my buddy asked me to get him some marijuana to help pay for his wedding, a pound, and my other buddy wanted a quarter pound of smoke. And that's all I knew as far as getting money was selling drugs. And then I was addicted to the money, not drugs, but money. And I remember getting that. We would get pounds that come in little compressed bricks with like brown tape. You cut the corner to make sure the weed's in there. Cut the corner, make sure your weed's in there. But my guy was out, so I went to another guy. I was a big Ziploc baggie, like the pound Ziploc baggie. Mm-hmm. And there was a fluffy quarter pound sitting in there, and then there was a little brick sitting in there. So I gave him the money, took it home, threw my friend the brick, and threw my other buddy the quarter pound. And my friend went to cut open the brick, and he couldn't get into the brick because there was a book in there. So naturally, he wasn't happy that he paid $800 for a book.
Yeah.
So I figured, man, I lost a friend over this deal. I might as well read the book. The book was A Hope for Each Day by Billy Graham. And I never knew, I never thought that that's when God was first working until I was just at this jail revival preaching. That's when he was working. So I picked up the book and I said, man, it pleases God for you to put your trust and faith into him. So I said, all right, God, I'll do that, but you're going to have to do something for me. I walked across the street. The guy offered me a job working at his call center. I said, I'm not going to get on these phones, man. He said, I just need you to manage. I said, what does that entail? He said, hiring and firing people and making sure they do their job. I said, I can do that. So I saw God working there. That was the first time I saw, but he was really started working in the book when that whole deal happened.
Yeah.
And then second thing I saw was I couldn't read. I was a kid that if there was 5 people ahead of me reading, and I was that 6th person to read. About that third kid, I'd start acting up so I could get kicked out of class, and I have to read and get picked on. So I remember taking the Bible back to him and saying, "You can have this Bible. I can't comprehend or read it so good." And he said, "Well, have you prayed about it?" I said, "No." And then I took that Bible back home and I prayed about it that night. And then the next day I was reading and comprehending. So if you can't read one day, you pray to God the next day, and then you can read the following day. That's a miracle. So I saw the proof there. And then the last thing I saw was I was coming back from Wisconsin, Madison, and I got pulled over for weaving out in and out of traffic, drinking 40 ounces, and passing cannabis. And I got a DWB, driving while black, because we had no cannabis, we had no marijuana, and we weren't weaving in and out of traffic. Oof. But what I did have was a warrant for failure to appear. And so I had to do 30 days in jail for that. I get there the first day. The first couple of days I see this African man, he's struggling. I see this because they said that he didn't pay his fines, and that's why the marshals, they shackled him up, brought him all around the country, and they dropped him off in Des Moines. And he had paid them all. He just came from Africa to help his family get out of debt, this, that, and the other. And he had acquired some fines doing that. And he was a solid guy. He paid them all off. But they shackled him up. Anyways, and then there was a Mexican guy there the next day. Asked him what his problem was. He said he was missing his kids. He was crying. So I hadn't even prayed for myself at this point in time. And I tell people praying's like eating a Reese's, no wrong way to do it. So I prayed for that man, and I prayed for that man 2 consecutive days. And I remember seeing the countenance on their face lifted. And I remember asking God to send me